Welcome to Across the Park podcast, the only place you can hear banter and debate from both sides of Stanley Park, whether it be blue or red. Sponsored by Their Clothing, Camper Kings UK, and affiliation with BetMate. Hello, welcome to episode 25 of season 21-22 of Across the Park podcast, the only place you can hear and see banter and debate from both sides of Stanley Park. Myself, Ian Mills, and Andrew Price are the Evertonians this week. A lot happier, which we'll get into, and as happy as ever. It's like a normal week for the Reds. Terry McGivern and Gary Murray will be talking all about Liverpool's victory in the FA Cup as well. Price, no better place to start for me than Saturday's victory, Everton at Goodison Park against Brentford, 4-1. I think the media have dissected the game quite well. We don't want to be Monday Night Football here, but I can't move on from saying that was a completely different style of play for me. The performance as well, it was so different for me. Do you agree? Or
yeah, completely agree. Yeah, main things for me were the energy of the players and the confidence as well. I mean, as the game went on, we were pressing from the front, we're getting the ball, we're passing it, we're looking sharper, and then the confidence just goes up and up slightly as the game went on as well. I don't think we ever looked threatened. The goal was obviously a penalty. We never looked threatened apart from that. But yeah, I mean, it's just a difference a week can make. A difference having a new manager in. Obviously, the way he's setting up training must be different. The information he's giving them is different. They look like some of them players look like completely different players. It was mad, but like you say, it was so enjoyable. It was brilliant. I was made up. But the standout performers was who do you reckon stood out? I mean, for me, there was a few that stood out. As a team, I thought we played better. But you look at I thought Gomez was brilliant as a standout performer, and Gordon, who I've expected from Gordon over the last few weeks. But I think they were the two for me that I thought, yeah, they look really good on Saturday.
No, I can't disagree with that. I thought that's Gomez's best game since he's been on loan. It reminds me of when he was on loan, where we were a possession-based team under Silva, and Gomez was always bringing the ball from the back, and he was being the one to turn and try and make moves start. Sometimes they were slow moves that were 10, 15, 20 passes, but he'd always be part of it in his loan spell, and he was again on Saturday. Anthony Gordon is just getting better and better, even under that period under Benitez, which for me is just a stain. I don't really want to recall that ever. But even under that period, he was the one who was getting better and better each week. The fans were calling for him. And then he came on a Merseyside derby to a massive roar. Like the fans expected Everton to go at Liverpool more because Anthony Gordon was coming on. He's got that level of trust and love already from the fans. What about Tamari Gray? For me, he's in the same bracket. He's getting better and better each week.
Yeah, he is. He's really good. And having them three up front, there was like a three up front, the three of them, and the energy out of them and the movement out of them, which we haven't seen this season, at least. The sharpness out of the three of them. But yeah, Gray again, just creating chances, running on the ball and without the ball. I think Leon Osman picked it up on Match of the Day. The amount of runs off the ball that he done and Gordon done and Richarlison done for each other and working together was brilliant. So yeah, Gray as well. But I mean, just the whole atmosphere, the whole. If, you know what it felt like? I felt like just a sigh of relief that we're here and Benitez has gone and there's a new manager and there's a new dawn. But I mean, you've got to caveat with the fact that it's the first game. It's a bounce that you'd hope to have, and you just got to hope that the same players that have let us down, it's because of the manager and it's because the new manager comes in and they've got that about them and they can continue it now and then push it on and push forward. And obviously the next couple of games are vital. But yeah, the whole atmosphere. I mean, as a fan yourself and me, I felt it on the morning of the game. I was looking forward to the game. I haven't looked forward to it for ages.
Yeah, I sat in the Upper Gladys on Saturday. I couldn't get my season ticket seat in the Park Ends because I took my little boy. And the Upper Gladys seat, you could hear the Lower Gladys seat 10 minutes before kick-off singing Everton songs. And it felt like a proper cup tie. Like I hadn't been there for a while, that atmosphere. I think you would have got that at times under Carlo. I think there was moments under Carlo where we were dying to get the match, weren't we, and watch it. It had just gone. That feel-good factor had just been sucked out. And for whatever reason, now we've had lots of conversations and I completely agree when you say it's the players and things, but my count has always been to other people, not just yourself and judge you, that team weren't this bad last season. There is an element that they were being set up awfully wrong under Benitez because that team, yeah, I don't think it's the best team in the world. I don't even think it's a top 6 or 7 team, but I do think it's a team that's better than 16th, and they just needed setting up right. And another name to mention, I thought Mason Holgate was really good, and he looked dead in the water this season to me. He looked like he was on his way out. There's rumours that we were looking for him to go out. I thought he was great. I thought he was... Look, it's going to be risky at times because we're playing now in a style where the goalkeeper's going to bring it out and the defenders are going to have to, play the ball out. And we're going to have moments this season on this podcast tearing our hair out, I imagine, because it's not always going to be great. But one thing Mason Holgate does give you, he's a good footballer. So to have him in there on Saturday, I thought he links up really well with Andre Gomez. I don't know what you think about that.
I'm not gonna suddenly say that your Holgates and your Keanes are players that should be in our starting lineup, because they shouldn't be. I just don't think they're good enough. I think one game coming in on a bounce from the manager is okay, but the amount of times they've let us down over the years, not just under Benitez but under different managers. So yeah, they can't fault the way they played. I thought Keane was still nervous, and when they did sort of run at him, I think he looked like the Michael Keane that you don't want in your team. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Holgate played well, but I'm not going to be saying he's good enough to play for us in our first team. Certainly not yet. Anyway, they've let us down too much. But I agree, they done well. And Holgate, on the ball, he can pass it and stuff. But yeah, I think I wouldn't want him. I wouldn't want him in my team. Holgate and Keane, especially. I think they were the two who, as I say, they've had that little boost from the manager. But anyone can do that. Anyone can have that boost. Gomez is another one who played well, and he's got a boost, but he needs to be more. I don't automatically go right. Gomez is in the team against Newcastle. I think I'd still be wary over making him a starting player straight away. But then that feeds into whether the new signings come in straight away. We won't go into it now, but I think we're going to talk about it later. But that comes into the fact that do you keep the same team, or do the new signings come in straight away because we've had that bounce and keep the confidence going? Because he's clearly worked on the confidence. I think we've seen the training sessions in the week where he's talking about enjoying the ball and trying to give them confidence and lots of well dones and stuff like that. And I think that was evident. Everyone just seemed to have a bit more about them. Whether that can be maintained now, whether you go against Newcastle and they get a little early goal and heads go down and we can continue it, I don't know. But yeah, it's a good start, and that's all you can hope for. It was perfect start to what we wanted.
The reason I said Holgate and I didn't say Michael Keane is because I just think Holgate has shown me more at certain times than Michael Keane. I think when Carlo first came, Holgate was influential. Now we were playing. I think if we're going back to that style of football, I wouldn't be averse to seeing Mason Holgate at least till the summer nail down a place. One negative really is Ben Godfrey. Ben Godfrey's been reported to be out for 4 to 5 weeks now, going into March. We're going to miss Ben Godfrey 100%. But that now means we've only got one left back at the club. We've seen John Joe Kenny come on and play left wing back for the last 15 minutes. The manager obviously thought, I need to see if I have to rely on John Joe Kenny this week at some time, whether he can do it. I think as well as Mykolenko did on Saturday, which was okay, I think we are now really, really weak. We were weak going into it without Luca Dean. The Godfrey injuries, it could be a really bad one for us, that couldn't it?
Yeah, and it sort of makes you think he'll stick with the three at the back, because you've got your three centre backs, haven't you, who finished the game on Saturday. And Mykolenko, I think he's just a young lad coming from abroad who's getting up to speed, isn't he? So I think if you play three at the back, that sort of gives him the licence not to have to defend as much as he would if in a four. Yeah. So I think that makes sense to stick with three at the back. But you're right, if anything does happen to him and you're relying on either a forward type player playing wing back or John Joe Kenny playing on the wrong wing, then you're struggling. But I think because of that, I do think he'll stick with three at the back. And I think, as you say, if Mason Holgate's in the team and performing better than he has been, then it shouldn't be the end of the world.
Mm-hmm. I think just to probably go towards the end of the Everton bit here, I think what was really impressive for me on Saturday is we heard all the sound bites last week. It was like a loving on Twitter with Lampard and Evertonians. He was saying all the right things, how he wanted us to play, how he wanted us to set up, how he wanted us to take risks in the area of the pitch where players should be taking risks, be a possession-based team who score goals and have shots. The best thing for me was that's what happens on Saturday. It didn't seem like, I don't know, it didn't seem like something that he'd said and we've seen the complete opposite. And I'm now going into Newcastle quite confident, and I'm scared. It's scaring me to say that. I feel really good at the moment, but I just think it was really pleasing that I just seen his identity. I've said identity a lot on the podcast. I didn't see it with Benitez. I seen it under Carlo, and at times I didn't like it. I seen it under Marco Silva and Roberto Martinez, and I didn't like it, but at least I seen the identity. I saw it on Saturday. Everything he said, it was happening on the pitch.
After a week as well, so it does make you think if he can implement that within a week and people, the players are listening to him. Yeah. What struck me the most, apart from the pressing, which you mentioned, was the forward passing. The amount of passes we played forward from Allen and Michael Keane especially, and Richarlison's goal was a perfect example of it. But passing forward in between lines rather than turning and going backwards to the keeper or sideways all the time. And I think, as you say, that identity of high press, really aggressive out of possession, but then in possession, can you get on the ball? Can you pass forward and transition as quickly as possible? If we can keep doing that, I think it will be exciting, hopefully, for the last half of the season.
Yeah. All right, final question before the Reds jump in, and the Reds can jump in on the Everton bit at the end of the one, but I just want to price your opinion and the reception that Frank Lampard got and stuff he was given back. He seemingly enjoyed his name being sung. He was on the pitch at the end. He took the warm-up. I've seen some people say that, we shouldn't be getting carried away and we shouldn't be singing his song. Yeah, I'm the opposite. When David Moyes came in, we did, and that worked. Where do you stand on like the reaction to Lampard? Is it too early to sing his name? Is it too early to show so much love, or is that what football's all about?
No, I loved it. I loved the fact that he was singing his name. All for that. Why not? He's come in. We were all the majority of us are happy he's come in. He's put in our team's put in a really good performance under him his first game. Get behind him straight away. Show him, and show the players that were behind him as well, because obviously the players would have got that atmosphere and that anxiety in Goodison that we weren't behind the previous manager. So let them know, let everyone know that we're behind this manager, and give them as much support as we can, because the fans are massive, especially at Goodison.
Yeah, sorry Terry, I cut you off there. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, obviously it's a great result for you, and when I'm looking at it though, I mean, is it one of them? Could it be a little bit of a false dawn? Obviously, Brentford, you know what I mean? When they first came up in the Prem, I think they were a bit of a surprise package. They got a few good results and stuff. But I'm looking at them at the moment, and they look a team that looks like a little bit lost. When I'm watching them and stuff, it don't seem like they're anywhere near as sort of effective as they were in the first half of the season. So is it one of them where I think you said it there, Millsy, I'm a little bit. Like, you can already see that sort of that hope, is coming in, like things are changing around, and it's like, we've made things happen in a week. I think he still plays the three at the back, which Benitez has played, hasn't he, and stuff like that. Yeah, there wasn't massive formation changes as such.
Not a massive formation change or personnel, and it is only one game. I'm not getting over excited, but don't forget we got beat by Norwich, we've been beat by Watford, so we've been beat by teams who are worse than Brentford, and we haven't performed half as good as we did on Saturday. So regardless of the opposition, it's a Premier League opposition, and yeah, it was the same formation, same players. But I think that's why we are quite excited by it, is because it was the same players, the same formation, and we had so much more about us than we have the previous weeks. So I think you can sort of dress up either way, can't you? But I agree, it's not. You don't get overexcited. It's only one game, but when you're watching them and you've seen the changes in certain aspects of the game, it is encouraging.
Obviously, you're not gutted, but you're a little bit sort of not disappointed, the wrong word, but that the first game under Lampard and one that you've put up a 4-1 win against the Premier League side is in the cup, though. Because that would have been probably very, very welcome, wouldn't it, in terms of your league stands? I know it's obviously nice to go through in the cup, but do you know what I mean? It's like, would you have preferred that?
Do you know what? In a weird way, the cup's a special game, isn't it? And fans always approach that differently. You know yourself, you get a big FA Cup 4th or 5th round game, and you as a fan, and you should do it on this podcast, the Carabao Cup, you're now counting down how many games left, so we've got a real chance. The cup's always a great day, and I think, yeah, and I get what you're saying. 3 points for Everton Football Club is massive. The sooner that happens, the better. The better I'll feel about the whole situation. On the flip side, the argument is the FA Cup at Goodison, to tear the team over 4-1 at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon in front of that set of fans. Perfect start for me. Perfect.
Nice.
Couldn't have asked for a better draw either, could you?
Well, you didn't quite get Man City here, did you? You just got another nice easy draw. Don't be giving me that, but
it wasn't a dig. It wasn't a dig. It was genuine. The lowest ranked team left in the competition.
I wouldn't be an Evertonian if I weren't worrying about Boreham Wood. I'm worrying already, trust me. Worrying about it already. But no, Pricey's hit the nail on the head there. Not getting carried away, but just to end the Everton section. Going down, are we? Stay up and win the cup. That's what I am.
Seeing a few of them songs around Twitter again.
Seem to have lost Terry there. It's coming
Terry's heard enough.
Yeah, his device is not connected, so I think his wife's turned the Wi-Fi off on him. He's been a naughty boy on the podcast too long. So, Gary, let's start with you. Let's start with you on the Liverpool section. I didn't watch any of it, so I'm looking at the stats. I'm looking at the game in play on social media. It looks to me quite convincing. Is that the case?
Yeah, pretty much. I thought from minute one we were by far the better team. We looked up for it. We were in control. The game was basically played in their half for a large part of it. They had a few little lumped balls up where they tried to break, and they maybe had a couple of half chances where they fizzed the ball across the box and things. But for the majority of the game, yeah, we were massively in control. I was a little bit disappointed by the midfield, though. We had Curtis Jones and Naby Keita there, who realistically should be absolutely bossing that game, should be running the game. And they were a little bit anonymous. You had Henderson doing the little bit of the holding role and didn't have a lot to do, really. And what he did have to, he done all right. So, and the forwards played well. Jota was his usual self, where he's loads on the ball. He was getting good chances. Should have had a couple of goals before he got his first. But yeah, Jones and Naby Keita, it's just the same again for me. I a couple of weeks ago I said about Jones, he's been frustrating me loads, and then the very next game he did have a good game. But then it's back to the Jones that I was talking about a couple of weeks ago. He's not really imposing himself on the game for me, and he needs to book his ideas up, really, because him and Naby Keita, we're starting to get a bit of a full squad together again now. And if they're the performances that they're going to put in, they're going to get left behind.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there, guys. Sorry, I dropped off there. I think I lost my connection. But you're watching it, aren't you? You're seeing like Curtis Jones is getting opportunities in this Liverpool team, and then starting to feel like he's not really capitalising on that chance. He's starting in centre midfield for Liverpool. When Trent got brought into the team, it was immediate impact. You could see, he was ready and he was making things happen. Harvey Elliot at the start of this season, and he was playing in that centre mid sort of role, like attacking midfield. He was having an impact where you were like, he's got to start the next game. Curtis Jones isn't having that impact. He's wasting opportunities in that midfield.
It's frustrating as well, because when he did first break in, he looked like, we've got a player on our hands here. He could, if he goes from strength to strength and keeps improving, he could be a worldie. But he just seems to have had a big drop off. It's not even a slight one for me. It's a bit of a big drop off.
Lad, do you think you're saying there about the drop off? Do you think it's that second season syndrome that some young players do seem to have? Does it look like that to you, or look like more?
No, it doesn't to me. I don't think he can really say he's having a second season syndrome as such. It's like, what did he play last season? 20 odd games or something. I mean, for me, it's like, when I watch him, I think he's just slow. He's too slow and like too deliberate in what he's doing. When he's getting on the ball, it's like, I think for me, it's like when he probably plays at a more of a, not Premier League level, when he's playing for like one of the youth sides, probably gets loads more time on the ball. And it's like he wants that extra time. He always takes an extra touch, very deliberate. He's starting to become a bit obvious. Like, it looks like he always wants to get it onto that, that right foot so he can bend one in, or like what he scored, remember, in the Derby goal.
Yeah.
And it feels like teams just know exactly what he wants to do. I'm not watching him thinking he's doing anything like interesting, or he's beating a man and he's committing men and stuff. It's like he's getting on the ball and all he wants to do is get into that sort of just on the edge of the box and bends one in.
And he holds on to it too long as well. There was a perfect example of it with how slow he is when Tsimikas got down the left-hand side at one point to overlapping. And he had to try and hesitate his run because Jones took ages. By the time he gave him it, he was offside.
Yeah.
And if that's Mane, that's getting slipped in, and Tsimikas is having a free run at their centre half to put a ball in.
Yeah.
It is a bit frustrating. And again, like I said before, with the team with the players that we've got coming back now, and the team, and Harvey Elliott's come back. We've got Diaz now. he could find himself falling down a pecking order, and he might not get as many chances as he has been getting recently. This is when he needed to take that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, you mentioned Keita there, and I think everyone on this podcast knows my view on Keita. He continues to basically do nothing. You know, like where I've literally got no idea what he offers. Why we're even still paying him a salary, because he doesn't do anything as a Liverpool player. Every time I watch him, it's like, what do you actually bring to this team? Nothing.
Come on, Teddy, be honest.
Frustrating though, because we're talking about Curtis Jones, right? He's a young lad. It's unfortunate if he's not having the impact that we want him to have, but he's got time on his side. Keita, he was just nearly a 60 million quid signing. And it's like, what? Why are you not dominating that game against a lowly ranked championship side as well? Do you know what I mean? It's like, and they were sitting back and giving time.
I was going to say, who were actually giving you the chance to dominate it as well. They weren't even like all over us or anything when we had the ball. They weren't pressing hard or anything.
No,
he had the chance to run the game there, and he never.
There's just nothing. There's nothing. The sooner, honestly, we ship him, because it frustrates me that he even comes on in games now. It's just literally like, there's other players that I want to see get opportunities before him. You know what I mean? So he's just going to get further and further down the pecking order. We just need to say to that to him in the summer, definitely. Yeah,
as time goes on as well, as the value is going to go down as well with these performances, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's just nothing there. But
if you move on to Jota, if you think in the absence of Salah and Mane, and Firmino, we're not really used to him getting us goals or anything like that. The amount we've relied on Jota's goals and the amount he's stepped up in this period, it's just been incredible, and he just never seems to amaze.
That was like, that header. It was like one that you've seen like Suarez do, where it's like you've got no real right to sort of like dig it out and get that angle and that power on it. And
he's so good in the air as well for the size of him, and that he's so good in the air.
Yeah.
He I tell you what though, he misses some one-on-ones though, doesn't he? That little turn that he done all the hard work and then puts it right at the keeper. Anywhere else in the goal, he scores there.
But the thing is, and I think we've said it on this podcast though, it doesn't seem to like affect his game, does it? Like it's not like where he's like, you can see him then fuming about it, where it's like it's upsetting and he's snatching at other chances and stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost like
he goes on it and he gets on with it.
Last, I'll just keep going and I'll get another chance. And in a way, that's what Salah's like, isn't it? Salah's been frustrating, hasn't he? Even in his first season, he'd miss like proper basic ones where you're like, how's he missed that many? And then he'll pull a worldie out and you're sort of like, it just doesn't bother him.
Still scored 40 odd goals.
Yeah, but could have been on about 80 with some of the easy ones that he missed in that first season, remember? But I think, one thing that is a bit concerning for me, and I said it to the fella who I was sitting next to in the game, I haven't watched us batter aside for ages. Man U and the derby with like two, but if you think about it, they're quite a while back now. So I'm not watching us at the moment and thinking we're dismantling teams or anything. I thought first half again we were poor. We seem to start games very slow at the moment, and I'm not. Or with the opposite, we're good for half an hour and then we take our foot off the gas. It's like we can't seem to put together a complete 90-minute performance at the moment. I don't know what that is, but it's a bit of a worry because I don't see us like sort of having that boss momentum at the moment. You know what I mean? It's like we just can't quite get it right. It's like a good half an hour, or we'll let teams come back into the game, or we start terrible and then we have to bring everyone on to sort of like get a result, or to make sure to get the points. I don't know what it is. I just don't feel like we're in that really slick moment, where everything.
We've had a lot of breaks this season, though, haven't we? With a few games getting called off with COVID, and with obviously we've just had the break there, the winter break, and we seem to be better when we're playing midweek weekend. But we're about to get back to that now, so maybe. Hopefully, like as we've seen in the past, that form can come with playing more games.
Yeah.
And like I've said a couple of times now, we're going to have a full squad soon with very little injuries. We're going to have the big players back from AFCON and stuff like that. So if we do play,
he's there.
Teddy got excited as well, didn't he? Going to leave again.
The best thing about this is everyone who's watching this now is like.
No, but you're right. All them players coming back. I mean, it and for the first time in ages, the bench is going to look good as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so putting a run together now, I think, is important, especially with, everyone keeps talking about the Premier League and, Man City, we're only going to be 3 points if we can win our game in hand and beat them. But that Man City game's not for like 10 games or something like that. So if we can put a bit of a run together now, it's extremely important for our, for the running, really. We've got the Carabao Cup final, we've got the next round of the FA Cup, we've got the Champions League starting again soon, next week, I think, and obviously trying to push for that Premier League as well. So we really could do with a good few weeks of a run and start put a bit of pressure on City. See what they are made of.
Yeah, and that's it. That's what I want to see is start to build up that momentum. You know what I mean? And as you say, put the pressure on. I think they've had it a bit too easy this season so far, even though we're still within touching distance. Just as you say, we're in every competition, which is what we've always said we wanted to be in at the end of the season. Is right there to the last in every competition, and hopefully go on to win them. So. We've got a chance to get silverware early on in the season. We've got a chance in them other competitions to go and win them as well. So just want to see us start to really put it together now. Get our strongest side out. Hopefully people stay fit and we do start to build up that momentum, because obviously we've shown that when we do click, at times this season it's been awesome, hasn't it? Like we've literally dismantled a couple of in games that are high profile games. So I just want to see us get back to that, that real ruthlessness that I don't quite think I've seen over the last month or two. So yeah, hopefully that's something that we can start to see again. Looking at any other performances, was there any other standouts for you there at the weekend, guy?
No, I just think we got asked a couple of questions defensively, which is a bit of a slight concern. They got in a couple of times, got behind Kanate, they got behind Tsimikas, being able to fizz balls in the box and stuff. But other than that, I think that the rest of the game, they see now quite well the defence. Paul Kelleher was quite good again. Barring the one, yeah, but barring that one where he comes out and he don't know what he done, completely mistimed it, miskicked it. But other than that, he does come off his line quite quick. He's quite commanding. He's starting to learn that side of the game. I think when he first broke into the team, he was a little bit hesitant. He wanted to sort of stay close to his line, and he didn't really want to come out. But I think the confidence has grew with him there with more and more games that he's getting. And quite happy to rely on him should we need to for a couple of games if Alisson's ever missing for whatever reason.
Yeah, I definitely feel safer with him than Adrian. After Adrian cost us a few times last season, in with the Champions League exit and stuff like that. It's it's definitely. I feel a bit more comfortable with him being the backup. The first choice backup, but I still maintain that. Again, the way our keepers they're going to keep finding themselves in that position where they're going to have to race off the line. We keep saying it. The way that we employ our line, you need goalkeepers who are going to do that, because the gap between our defensive line and the keeper is so big that if you've got to play a team who play on it, you're going to have them sort of moments, and we've just got to take that, I suppose, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And another decent draw for us again. Norwich at home. Seeing Man City's name get drawn out, and I just thought, we're going to get some horrible team here, aren't we? It's just typical.
As that happens to you. As if.
Behave.
When does that ever happen to you?
It never happens to them.
We don't get that Man City in the cup treatment where we play third division teams and all that for about.
You just cry about them doing it while you get fucking championship sides or something. Not you just had Cardiff and Norwich. Who was the third round against?
Cardiff would have beat you, so shut it.
Who was the third round against? Who was it in the third round?
Shrewsbury.
Fucking woe is me. Woe is me, Reds. I can't believe it.
But obviously,
before I was going to say, Terry, you were talking about performance. We've had a few questions. I know you spoke with Harvey Elliot already. For Paul from the Whittle, he wants to know particularly, does Elliot now come straight back in because of his early season form and now he's fit?
I don't know whether he comes straight back in because he's going to be coming, he's getting fit at the same time that you've got Thiago fit, Henderson fit, Fabinho coming back and all that. So I still think that's our strongest midfield, and that's the midfield that we've seen, when we've been really, really good this season, is them three. So I think he will have to naturally fight to get his place back. As good as he was at the start of the season, I don't think he goes straight back in the team. Plus, you've got to be respectful of the fact he's come back from a pretty serious injury, so you don't want to rush him. You know what I mean? But I definitely think he'll have parts to play, and I think we'll start to see him be used, off the bench and stuff, and maybe be used in the odd game as a starter here and there, a bit more than probably Curtis Jones will, and certainly more than probably Keita and maybe even Oxlade-Chamberlain will, even though they're fit as well. I think Klopp likes Elliot, and from what we've seen of him, you can trust him. He's a good player. He belongs in the conversation. So I don't know whether for me he'd definitely be an automatic starter from the next game. I don't know whether you think any different, but it was great to see him, and his goal was absolutely boss. You know what I mean? It's he's a boss player, isn't he, Gal?
Yeah, not really much more to add. I think with what Klopp said in his interview after, he said, he's come back from a big injury. You can't rush these things, but it was the right moment to bring him on, get him some minutes, and get some game time in his legs. I think that sort of tells you that he won't be playing on Thursday. But again, I think if the game's going quite well, I think you probably see him in the last 15 again. Maybe get some more minutes in. Maybe not so much if we're chasing it. I think if it's a close game and we've still got to play for the win, I don't think he'd be risked then, because it might be a bit too much. But hopefully, on that, hopefully we do see him, because the game's seen out and he can get some more minutes in. I think what he does as well, what we've seen from at the start of the season, when he is playing and when he was, performing well, he frees up Salah quite a bit, because he was going out a lot to the right from the centre mid position. He's going a lot out wide. And Salah was just getting a bit of a free roll then, but they were linking up really well together as well. So that'd be really good to see again. Because we need to find someone who was doing what Firmino was doing at the start with Salah, because Firmino seems to have lost that bit of a link-up play. And if Jota's going to be staking his claim in the team, if Elliot can come in and start doing that with Salah and having that good relationship with him, then it's only positive things for Liverpool.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Elliot, it might be a case of he might not play Thursday, but he might play against Burnley, because they're likely to sit back against us, and that's who we struggle against, is teams that sit back. But he's got the ability to sort of commit a man, and take someone on, or do a 1-2 and go, to, as you say, to open up them gaps and give defenders and midfielders something else to think about, so that they're not just focused on Salah, and draw them out. So it could be that we see him against them sort of tight defences and the low blocks a bit more, because he gives us that extra dynamic edge in the midfield that we don't see. Whereas in the bigger games, I still expect we'll probably see a Fabinho, Thiago with Henderson as the sort of the sort of front of the midfield. So yeah, it's good that we're starting to have them options again, though, innit? That's the main thing. And look strong and with a strong bench, and possibly with alternatives that we can use instead of sort of a little bit square pegs and round holes.
We haven't even mentioned the new signing. What did you think of Diaz? Did you flap when he went down holding his knee?
Yeah, I did a little bit, because I thought, what's happened there? That's nightmare, that. But I thought he looked really good, to be honest. As good as you can look on your debut. You know what I mean? He obviously came there. It was absolutely freezing on Sunday, I'm not going to lie. Felt like I needed defrosting after the match. So he's there in a short sleeve, and I thought he's not going to like this cold, but he just sort of came into the game, and it's hard, isn't it? He's coming into an FA Cup tie against a Championship side at Anfield in his debut game. He's probably thinking, don't know what to expect here, but I thought he gave a good account of himself. He was battling for the ball. When he was on the ball, he looked comfortable and knew what he was doing. He obviously had a hand in a goal. Great first debut.
Wanted it as well. Wanted the ball. He was always looking for it, and if he weren't getting it on when he'd made a little run, he'd come looking for it again and makes more space to receive it. And the little bit of skill that with the ball control, with close control with his feet, that was lovely to see. And you couldn't really ask for much more from his opening 20 minutes in a red shirt. So yeah, more of that to come. And do you think he'll play on Thursday?
Possibly. I think there is a chance, because otherwise, what would your front line be? Jota, Firmino and Minamino. I'd rather play him than Minamino, to be honest. So I know
there's rumours Salah wants to get back in the fold, but I think I'd rather just give him a week off. He's had a few extra times there with Egypt, hasn't he? And
so
I read Klopp saying today that the pair of them are going to go back to their countries for a short period this week, so I don't know whether he'd be available anyway. But it's probably a good place to leave the Liverpool section. Did you watch the AFCON final? What are your thoughts on it? What are your thoughts? Because Klopp did say, actually, didn't he? One's going to come back ecstatic, one's going to come back not so much. Do you think Salah's the kind of person this derails him, or is just business as usual?
I think if anything, it'd be derail Mane more than it'd derail Salah, had it been the other way round. I think if anything, it'll push Salah on to want to win more. He'll want silverware after that, getting beat in a final. Yeah, I watched the game. I did watch it. Mane missing a penalty early on, and Salah having a word with the goalie, and I just thought, I don't want that to become bad blood. I think the best outcome probably happened towards the end of the game there. Mane getting a winning penalty, Salah not having to take one, so neither of them have missed to concede the final type thing. That was my big worry. I just didn't want one of them to miss it, to lose it.
So, yeah, at the end of the day, if you're a professional footballer, you can't grumble if your teammate goes to, in a national game that you play in a major tournament for them. It's like, really, can you really spit your dummy out and say you shouldn't have told him that? It's like, what can you really tell him anyway?
Remember Ronaldo with Rooney?
Yeah, you expect players to be a bit more, thicker skins and a bit stronger than that. But hopefully, it doesn't.
The same two players who were arguing over being subbed and not passed to, aren't you? At Burnley the other season, you are talking about those same two players who was having a smack.
Yeah, well, that's because they're hungry to score goals.
Mills is praying here.
I don't think it's going to cause any. I don't think it's going to cause any problems.
No, I don't.
It's just one of them things, isn't it? But I didn't watch it. I'll be honest. I haven't really tuned in that much to the AFCON. I don't think it's been the great. I have seen one or two games, and they were just really low standard. I was like, it's not really for me. But I'm like that with international football generally, anyway, as you know. But
yeah.
Okay, so second part of the show, we're going to preview the games coming up. Everton have got a big game against Newcastle on Tuesday, a game which is Evertonians have waited for, really. It's a game that can really define our season. We're going to preview that. We've also got a big game on Saturday against Leeds United at home. The Reds play Leicester and Burnley. They're going to preview that as well. Price is going to turn into Monday Night Football Andy Gray of the 90s with a split screen in a minute, so you can look forward to that. Before we get to there, big thank you to our sponsors, as always, Camper Kings UK. If you're going on a boys' weekend, a girls' weekend, a family trip, whether it be just a few days or even a big trek across the country, please head over to Camper Kings UK. Quote ATP or Across the Park podcast that you check out. They'll throw in a bottle of bubbly and some free insurance on the boys at the podcast. Please go and do that, especially now we're going to get the summer nights coming back in, the warm weather. That's a great opportunity to get over to Camper Kings UK and book something with the family or the boys or girls. Big shout out, as always, to our friends over at Fair Clothing, virclothing.com. A great range of men's clothing, whether it be t-shirts, polos, jumpers, jeans. Make sure once you spend your life savings, we will help you out a little bit. Put ATP20 at checkout to get you 20% off. And as always, our affiliates over at BetMate. We are back this week with BetMate. If you download the BetMate app on Android or Apple, and have a look for the Across the Park League on there. And it's Across the Park double header. And you're allowed to pick your team, a mix of players to get some points from whoever Everton are playing, plus Everton, whoever Liverpool are playing, plus Everton. And the winner, as Gary Murray can attest to, gets a few quid for the sake of 3 quid. Gary's won a game already. I think Judgy's won 2. That does not surprise me at all. Money goes to money, as they say, but we invite you to come and challenge Judgy and Gary and take some money off the boys over at the Across the Park League on BetMate. Tracy, you were telling me off air, you've picked your team already, or you've at least had a goal, right? Where are we?
Yeah, I picked one this afternoon. If you just have a look at it, I'll try and get it on the screen now. So this is the Across the Park podcast, as you can see, Mersey double. So this is the team I picked. I'm just going to swap out Yerry Mina for Trippier. So remove Mina. Put Trippier, and I don't like to use too many Everton players because it seems to. I did at the very start, and it just didn't have the effect I wanted it to have. So I don't put many Everton players in. I'll just save this now and then. Also, the one Everton player I do have is Damari Gray. I fancy him to have a decent game. I'm going to make him my captain, so he gets extra points when he's the captain. So I've just added him as my captain. So that's my team that I've picked. And as you can see, if you click on the rules, you can see who gets the points, how they score points, what they're scoring points for. So have a look at that before you pick your team, see who you think might perform well for you. and good luck for everyone. As you see there, £3 bet and your minimum £100 payout. If anyone wants to join the Across the Park Merseyside double for the Everton game on Tuesday and the Liverpool game on Thursday.
I need to change my team because I think I put Godfrey in, but obviously after hearing that he's going to be out, I'm going to have to make some changes to mine.
Well, you can. I always put my team in and wait for the team to be announced because you can always change it once the team's announced as well. So I've been doing that lately.
Yeah, up to 5 minutes before kick-off, you can change your team.
Yeah.
But obviously, that's going to be with Everton playing on Tuesday. That'll only be up until 5 minutes before the Everton game, and then you're stuck then for the Liverpool game. So get your Newcastle and Liverpool players in early.
Gary, have you got any, as the only man on this 4-man show this week who took some money from the BetMate app, have you got any tips? What are you going for? Are you going for players who play 90 minutes, players who score goals? What are you going for when you're
the big thing for me when I did win was Fabinho. He was there with, and a lot of his points came from tackles and interceptions. I think that's the big thing that separates it from like the fantasy leagues that you can enter. It's not just like if you captain your forwards, you get double points for whoever you captain, but if you captain a midfielder, you're more likely to get more points. That's what I've found. And for your vice captain as well, you don't get any points for them in normal fantasy league. In this, you get 1.5 extra points, times points for your vice captain. So it's worth making sure you think about who you are going to captain and vice captain.
I think I've said it a few times. Like we've talked about Jota and how good he's been, for us, and he's classed as a midfielder on the game. So if he has a good game and you captain him, he can rank you some serious points.
That's why I put Gray as my captain there then, because he's similar to that, isn't he?
Yeah.
So it's all good fun. It'll cost you £3 to join, and as Judgy said on his podcast before, if you watch it in game and it just changes, you can see a live leaderboard. You can plan your dominoes and then cancel it within 10 minutes. It's a really fun app. If anyone's on Twitter, go and find a BetMate app. It's at BetMate_app. You'll find some more information about BetMate on there. But if you're on Apple or Android, you can download the BetMate app from both stores on there. Whilst you're on Twitter, give us a follow if you haven't already at Across the Park PC on Twitter and Instagram. If you've got Facebook, we are also on there at Across the Park Podcast. Pricey, I've said there that this Newcastle game has took a little bit of a life of its own, really, because we've not took as many points as we've needed to. We've seemed to get closer and closer to that dreaded position where one team always gets dragged into every season. We've got Leeds on Saturday, another team around us. How big are these two games for our season?
I think they're massive. Lampard tried to talk this down in his press conference this afternoon. He said, let's just use it as an isolated game and see how we get on and regroup after it. But I don't see it like that. I think it is big. I think it's a big game. As we spoke about before, the confidence is up after Saturday. And if we can get this win, more so winning, if we can get the win, I think a draw wouldn't be too bad. But if we can get that win and keep the momentum going, and we go in then again, we'll go into Saturday against Leeds and we're flying then. And then at home against Leeds on Saturday, you wouldn't expect us to get beat. So I do think it's a massive game. Newcastle for Newcastle as well, though. You got their fans are going to be up for it. You've got a few of their new signings. They're similar to us. I mean, Eddie Howe hasn't had the best start, to his managerial career, but that's because I think it's fair to say Newcastle's squad was depleted. So they've made a couple of signings and they're open to have a bit of a bounce back from that. So I do think it's massive. But not that I wouldn't take a draw, but I don't think it's a draw at the end of the world for us. I think it is for Newcastle, but I don't think it is for us. What about you? Are you happy to play it down, or do you think this is a big one for us?
It's massive. It's absolutely massive. We cannot. You've said there, and I agree. A draw isn't the worst result for us. The absolute worst result is to let Newcastle take 3 points off Everton on Tuesday night. That would really, really not only derail what we've got at the minute, which is a feel-good factor. It would put the players back to where they were before Frank Lampard come in. It will give Newcastle the lift to say we can jump these at some point. We don't want to be in that position. I would really like Everton to take the game to Newcastle tomorrow. And just remember, if any Everton player is in the air now going to Newcastle and seemingly watching this podcast for whatever reason, it's only Newcastle. Go and take the game to them. Forget about all this noise that I'm responsible for, Pricey's talking about as well, the fans on Twitter, the media. It's fucking Newcastle United. Take what you've done on Saturday and take it into the game. I would really like us, Pricey, to start on the front foot on Tuesday and not... Because their crowd will be up. Newcastle will be looking at Everton as a team they can beat. We've got to be really clever here and say, no, you gang of mugs, we'll take it to use.
Well, we can, you know what it's like. Newcastle are the same as Everton. You can turn the crowd against them from having a good atmosphere to start with. If we come on the front foot, we press like we were pressing against Brentford, and we play a bit more direct in our passing like we did against Brentford. Then you know what their players like. Newcastle players will go to pot the crowd, they'll get on the back, and then it's advantage Everton. So it's about turning the crowd against them as quickly as possible.
Do you think the fact that they've made a few signings in this window, we were all going to be coming in, never played together before, if they do start them all, as opposed to Everton, although you've had a pretty poor season and your players haven't been great, the players who gelled, who know each other, who trained together all season for 2 seasons, the majority of them, they've had that good result there against Brentford. Do you think that could play in your favour?
Yeah, I'd prefer to be in our position than theirs, because the couple of signings that they've made, whether they go into the team to start with or not, I don't think. I mean, the quality-wise, I don't even think that it's on par with Everton's squad. To be fair, the quality that they've brought in, even though it's better than what they've got, I think our starting lineup is still better than theirs. And as you say, we've got a team that, you know, we'll be on the back of a win. We've had a week and a half of training. We've got a team who know how to play against each other, play with each other, and know that if they do perform to the standards on a Saturday, they should win. And I think that's the difference that we've got to them. I mean, in terms of starting lineup, I was going to mention to you, Millsy, is it a case of bringing Dele straight in or Van der Beek straight in, or do you keep it as it is for Saturday, or maybe bring one in? How would you play it?
It's tough, isn't it? Because we're talking about the feel-good factor being back, we're talking about being happy, and it's all based on what that 11's on Saturday. Do you then disrupt that? Do you then say, okay, thank you for that, but here's 2 new signings coming in and taking 2 players' place? I mean, I wouldn't be against changes being made, but I would also see the reasoning for no changes being made, if that makes sense, and seeing if we can just continue where we left off. You've got to bring Yerry Mina back in because Ben Godfrey is injured. Whether Yerry Mina, after being away playing twice for Colombia last week, or playing one, and staying with the squad for the second game, can play 2 games in 4 days, that's a risk by itself, considering we've got no Ben Godfrey and we've got a young left back. Does Branthwaite come back in on that basis, or do you play Mina with the eye playing Branthwaite on Saturday? I don't know. I don't think the Everton team on Tuesday is easy to predict. We've done times where we've done the starting 11 and said it's picked itself. I think this is a game, and again, going into Saturday, which is impossible to predict without seeing the Newcastle game, I can't pick the team either way. I think Newcastle's team picked itself. I think that we're now in February. I think they play every new signing they brought in. I think they will have to. They'll see this game as a chance to put 3 new players in the team that they brought last week. Does that then mean that we don't? Are we in a better position to not do that and to have a team who are probably hugging each other on Saturday at 5 o'clock and the managers praise them and they're feeling good? Is the benefit to keep that team together on the basis that Newcastle will change their team? I don't know. What do you think?
I'm a big one for momentum, mate. And I think if you've got momentum going and you get a win, I think keep the same starting lineup, especially a new manager coming in. They've earned the right to be in the starting lineup. No one will want to come out of that game. So you've earned the right. You've won. You've done what I've asked for Saturday. You've all got another chance Tuesday. Do it again. Do it again Tuesday. You've got your chance to stay in the team, especially with those 2 new signings who will definitely be in the squad on the bench. They're looking over the shoulders. They just improve the quality of the performance, hopefully, by not even playing, or not even coming on the pitch, or not even starting on the pitch. So, and then you've got the chance of, if Newcastle do tire, if they've got new signings who aren't quite gelling, then you can bring Dele Alli on after an hour, or to inject some creativity or whatever. So I'd keep it as it is. I know I said before about your Holgates and your Keanes and your Gomez and stuff, and they're not automatic starters, but I do believe in momentum. I think they've all had a decent game Saturday. Give them another chance on Tuesday and let them carry on as they are with, as I say, with those new signings on the bench who can come on and maybe affect the game if they need to.
No, yeah, I mean, as I read, looking at it, I think you should be mad to start Ali and Van der Beek. They haven't hardly played any football for a long time. You as you're saying, Mills, you want to take the fight to Newcastle. You want a high intensity, sort of get at them. You want players who are fit enough and able enough to do that. And coming off the back of a big win, the midfield and stuff that you had there is probably better placed to do that, isn't it? than basically asking players to come in cold who've hardly featured for their prior clubs. When Dele Alli has played the season, he's looking knackered after about 40 minutes. When I've seen him play and stuff, so I think you're definitely better off bringing them off the bench as opposed to starting them. I think it's crazy to start them in a game of this importance, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so look, it's impossible to predict Saturday. We have got Leeds on Saturday, but with the game in midweek, as the Reds know as well, when they play in midweek, it's hard to preview the Saturday game. But look, Pricey, we'll try very, very quickly. Leeds at home, it's another 3 o'clock on a Saturday. It's a recipe for another great atmosphere. That's a game Everton have got to win at home, isn't it? The Newcastle one you referred to there, that a point keeps them at arm's length. Got to beat Leeds for me. Got to beat Leeds.
Got to, 100% got to. And I think, as much as you can't predict it, I think a decent result against Newcastle, whether that is hopefully a win, but if it's a draw, we go into the Leeds game still up on confidence. Anything but a defeat against Newcastle, and I think we'll be going into that Leeds game full of hope and confidence of beating them. But yeah, you're right. It's a massive one, the Leeds one as well. We've got to win that game. There's no excuses for that one.
Okay, $1 million question, Pricey. How's it going Tuesday? Are Everton going at them? Are Everton winning the first half? Are Everton winning the game? How do you see it playing out?
I think we'll come out fast. I think we'll come out and we'll try and be aggressive. We'll try and close them down from the front, especially if them front three play again. I think we'll try and smother them a little bit. And I think we'll come out the blocks fast. If we can try and, as I said before, if we can try and reduce their crowd to, quieten them down, a few grumbles, maybe nick a goal. I fancy us. I mean, it might be heart over head type of thing, but I fancy us on Tuesday. I think we'll get a decent result, and I fancy us to win. What about you? Do you reckon? Or
no, I was going to say predictions, but before I do that, there's one name you haven't mentioned who's fit again. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who I don't think will start, but what an option to have on the bench if things aren't going well. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's fit again. He's travelled with the team up to Newcastle. Sorry, for me, look, I'm confident. I think Newcastle. I don't think they're a very good team. I think the new signings, the quantity of new signings they're going to put into the game, I don't think it's going to work for them. I think the crowd will be up for it, and I think they might have moments of individual quality because they've signed some good players. Everton are better than Newcastle. I expect a goal in each half and Everton to win 2-0. What about you?
I'll go 2-1 Everton. 2-1. I think it'll be quite tight. I think, but I fancy us to win.
Okay, fair enough. We'll leave the Leeds preview. I mean, the prediction. It's really hard to do that, but we will have another across the park Merseyside double on BetMate at the weekend as well. So be sure to check that one out at the weekend. There will be no game on this week, so we're not going to have a Thursday show. The reason being, I'm very, very jealous. These two gentlemen are going on a stag do for Gary's brother Peter. He's getting married this year, so. Me having a 2.5-month-old daughter did not give me the card I needed, the pass I needed to go. So I'm very, very jealous. But in short, for the podcast, it's not going to be on Thursday. We will be back next week for the big show. Terry, let's start with you. Big game for Liverpool against Leicester. Leicester, one of those teams I just don't get. The manager today has just slated their players for a really bad performance against Nottingham Forest. But you've seen Anfield already this season. They're not a bad team. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, they're a weird one, Leicester. A bit indifferent this season, aren't they? Like very mixed bag. Maybe it's symptomatic of Rodgers, really. Where he has these sort of where he can make them look really good, not quite get the results that he needs to win anything, or get them in the Champions League, and then he sort of just dribbles away. And I think the 10th or something in the league now, aren't they? As you say, we beat them in the League Cup quarter final, and we played well in that game. It was good. It was a good win. We were terrible, to be honest, when we played them at Anfield. When we played them away in the league just after Christmas. I thought we were one of them games where it didn't look like we were going to win. No matter what we did. And they obviously took all 3 points. So they are a mixed bag side. They've got good players if they fancy it. You know what I mean? And they can put it together. You can hurt teams. I think we'll have to be ready for that. But like I was saying before, if we can put it together. As apples against anyone, including City. If we can get all of our players, sort of on the pitch, a stronger side, and we decide we fancy it, there's nothing down for anyone. So it just depends. I think it depends on what Liverpool team turn up, and what we, what mood we're in, as opposed to what Leicester team turn up. And so I'm just hoping that we do go there and we put a strong side out and basically just take the game to them and do what we know we're capable of doing. And if we do that, I fully expect that we'll take all 3 points.
Yeah,
Leicester look lost, don't they? Sorry to interrupt. Leicester look absolutely lost at the back. Well, they've had injuries and all that, but I mean, they look awful. The times I've seen them this season, and if you get at them, I can see it being a pretty high score.
Yeah, but Rodgers...
I was going to say something similar, to be honest. They do look a bit lost, but I think for me, Rodgers' ego is what we've got to watch out for. He's very much an egotistical manager, and he'll want to do something against Liverpool. He just will be a former manager and things. I think that the fact that he's come out slating them after the Nottingham Forest game, that's to try and get a reaction, isn't it? That's what he wants. He's done it publicly. He's tried to do whatever he does on the training pitch. It hasn't worked. He's done it publicly now, and he's going to try and get a reaction out of them. So I think we've just got to be a little bit careful going into it. But yeah, as you say, Terry, I think if we turn up and we put a decent performance in, there's only one winner in that game.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take your point. And obviously, against his former club, he's going to want to do something, Rodgers, but there's only so much he can do. And I don't look at that Leicester team and think it's full of surprises or formational tweaks or things that he can do that's going to, sort of upset us. As I say, they can be at their absolute best. If we're at our best, it's a no contest. We're a better team than them. You know what I mean? Even allowing for the fact that Mane and Salah aren't there, I still think we're a better side than them. So I think, for me, that could go one or two ways. Roasting them after they've gone out the cup there. It's like sometimes players don't respond to that. Sometimes they sort of, they get a cob on and they feel a bit hard done by and stuff, and then you can almost end up in a situation where the players go, well, against your old club, we'll make a show of you. So do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not saying that they will. I'm not saying that they're in that bad shape that there's real disharmony there, but at the same time, managers have to be very careful about leathering players publicly, because some of them don't like it. And when you're already a bit fragile anyway, you're 10th, you know what I mean? The season hasn't gone the way they want it to go. They've been riddled with injuries at the back and stuff. Then players probably want a little bit more of an arm around them as opposed to a verbal in the public. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But as I say, with the players that we've got coming back and being fit and available, if we get them all on the pitch and we can, as I say, put it together, I think we've got a good opportunity there to go and, for once, like sort of a comfortable win, you know what I mean? To go and put maybe a 2 or 3-0 win on the board. And that's what I want to see. I want to see us go from minute 1 to the 90th minute, no messing around at Anfield, and you know what I mean, and do the business.
That's it. It doesn't even have to be like a high scoring victory, does it? It's just a dominant performance where you don't look in any danger at any point in the match. That I think that's the main point you're making there for the last couple of months we haven't seen. So yeah, I would like to see that myself. And I think, to be honest, I think there's ever going to be a game that's going to happen in, it'd be this, just with the way Leicester are at the minute and the fact that we are sort of coming into an important stage of the season. I think now's the time for us to try and kick on. So yeah, it'd be perfect if we could do it for Thursday.
Yeah. What about lineup? Can you see any surprises?
No, I think Alisson goes straight back in, doesn't he? I think Robertson will probably play after Tsimikas starting on the weekend. Matip fit? He's not injured, is he?
I don't think he's injured. I don't think he didn't have a great game, did he? What game was it? It was a couple of...
He had a couple, didn't he? He got dragged off at half time in one, and then he didn't have a great game the game after either.
Yeah. So maybe that sort of took him out of the pecking order a little bit. And Kanate, I think we might start Kanate. I've got a feeling, even though he didn't have a great game. What I don't, it's one of them with Matip like coming in cold. You know what I mean? He hasn't played for a little bit. It's like maybe, but I think that'll be interesting. It'll be Kanate or Matip. But what about the midfield?
I think Henderson will start. Fabinho goes straight back in for me as long as he's fit. I don't know whether I'd throw Thiago straight back in straight away though. I think you want to see that, don't you? I just don't think I would at the minute.
I think he's got that ability at Anfield against like a team like Leicester, where I think he's got that ability to sort of just dictate the game in terms of like keep the ball and keep it away from their dangerous players like Tielemans and stuff. I can see us playing them just a little bit of nous and a little bit of sort of calm assurance in the middle. Who would you play instead?
Thiago,
I was just trying to think then.
Talking about this is the Thiago that I've seen for the past 2 years. You're talking about
this is the Thiago that when we first signed him, he played against you in the derby, and you said he looks an absolute player, Mills. That Thiago, yeah.
Gomez looked a player against Hughes.
He did,
first game as well.
He did.
Mad, isn't it?
Actually, that was a hot tag there. The Bushwhackers, a hot tag.
Well, who would you play instead of, guys?
I was just trying to think then. I don't really know because I'm not loving Jones at the minute. Minamino's like just doesn't seem to be good enough, does he? I think the forward line you're looking at Firmino, Jota, and probably Diaz in it. I think he's got to start in the absence of Salah and Mane.
Yeah, I think he'll start. I think it will be, as you say, Firmino, Jota, and Diaz, which I think I'm okay with it. I think that's a lively front three. The midfield, though, I do think it'll be.
Oxlade-Chamberlain injured.
I don't know, but to be honest, I wouldn't start him. I don't think he's good enough. You know what I mean? He's just.
I don't mind him when he has a bit of a run in the team. He seems to get better, I think. And I don't know. He weren't in the squad yesterday, though, was he?
No, for me, it's the fact that Thiago came on. I think he's going to play. I think it'll be Thiago, Henderson, and Firmino if he's fit and available.
Listen, I'm not saying I'm against that, by the way. I'm just thinking more about making sure everyone stays fit. That's all.
Yeah, but you got to play. If you've got your strongest players available, you play them. I don't really want us to start with Milner, as good as he's been for us. I feel like he's a bit leggy when he's playing midfield now. Jones hasn't been good enough. Elliott's only just on the comeback trail. Keita, don't go near him. Oxlade-Chamberlain, I don't know whether he's fit anyway, but I wouldn't start him. I'd go Thiago, Henderson, Firmino, definitely.
Just one prediction. I was going to say the Burnley game on Sunday as well before you get to prediction. Do you want to quickly touch upon that? I know it's hard to preview, but it's another big game, isn't it?
Well, it is, yeah. It's one of them where they're a horrible team, aren't they? And they'll waste time and they'll drag it out and all that. And they're not a nice team to play against. But we should have more than enough to go and beat them there.
They're not a nice team to play against, but they're crap, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's it.
Let's have it. Yeah,
we are one of them teams that we don't do well against. Like as I say, the low block sort of side. So we should just go and beat them there and no messing about. It's one of them. I'm not expecting any sort of drama from it. Hopefully, obviously we'll be watching it abroad. So yeah,
be watching both of them abroad.
Well, yeah, we will. Yeah, true. The Everton one. Yeah.
So anybody knows any bars in when you got this is Tenerife? Anyone that's going to show the Premier League games on Saturday or Sunday? Obviously, legally. Please let us know in the comments or the email. The email is at team@acrosstheparkpodcast.co.uk.
In Tenerife, massive, Mills. We might not even be going to the same place. That's about 400 miles away.
Trying to give the guys the hotel. Trying to give them your room number.
We're in the north of Tenerife, aren't we? I can't remember the place name, but yeah.
Porto de la Cruz, I think.
The shipper, innit? Gary booked it.
Gary Judge, not me.
Yeah, Judge. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not expecting any drama. You guys against Burnley, we should beat them, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I just they've lost their main outlet as well in Chris Wood to Newcastle. So if there was going to be any danger, they've lost it there. Not that he pulls any trees up, but hopefully. But yeah, I'm expecting a victory against Burnley.
Yeah. All right, predictions then against Leicester. I'm going to say 2-0 Liverpool.
I'll go 4-0.
All right. I'll take yours over mine, Defo.
Confident Reds. Look, it's been a really positive podcast. The Evertonians are happy. The Reds are happy. We're all predicting big wins. The boys are going on a stag do. It's been a really, really good podcast. Thursday, like I said at the start of the show, or midway through, sorry, there will be no game on this week simply because the guys are going on a stag do. We're back next week. We're not too sure who will be on. I'll be on. Pricey will definitely be on. We're not too sure what Reds we're going to do. It may be that we get a couple of guests on, but the podcast will still be out next week as usual on either Monday or Tuesday to review the games that have been at the weekend. The games we previewed this week as well. Newcastle, Everton, Leeds, Liverpool against Leicester and Burnley as well. So the pod will return on Monday or Tuesday next week. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Please subscribe If you're on YouTube, click that subscribe button. It helps us so much. If you're listening on the audio podcast, share it with your friends. We appreciate you sticking with us. For we are coming up to our 4th season. Can you believe that, guys? 4 seasons doing the podcast, and we've still got loyal listeners, which we really do appreciate. So from myself, Ian Mills, Mandrew Price, from Terry McGivern, and from Gary Murray, we will see you again next week. Enjoy the football. Catch you then.